brought the air horn. Jerry, did you bring the air horn again?
Jerry, was
you
that
crazy
you?
cat.
Jerry, we asked you to stop.
Come
Jerry,
on, Jerry. No, seriously, stop. It's illegal. Stop.
Jerry, you have a problem.
Jerry, get out.
Jerry.
Get out, Jerry.
No one knows you. You don't know anyone here, Jerry.
No one knows you. No, I like that. Jerry, no one knows you. We know your name, but no one knows you.
No one knows you, Jerry.
Welcome to ABCD.
Jerry has been taken care of.
Jerry's been taken care of.
Wow, Jerry was Wilhelmed. Hey, welcome to ABCD. As your host, allow me to introduce my co-host, a man whose biodata pages are always stuck together, Omar Najam.
Thank you. And everyone, may I introduce you to the best man all the time. It's Sandeep Paris.
Always the best man. Always the best man. One time the grim. Look, so I'm the host this week because I took it down last week. Hollywood took down Bollywood. Bollywood no longer exists. But Hollywood still exists, so Triple R still exists technically.
Still going strong.
Yeah, we just took out Bollywood, so this week, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see who wins host. It's nice. It's just nice being a host. There's so many more perks. Oh, the crafty in the host room is just out of this world. One day, Omar, you'll see. You'll see.
The 1 week I was host, I didn't get crafty.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, our show, ABCD, is American-born Chatty Desis. It's a podcast within a live stream within our two lives as American-born Desis. It's a pod deccan, ladies and gentlemen. This show's for anyone out there who, like us, are navigating our cultural identities and just want to chat it out.
Yep. And we have a pseudo format to this whole thing. A podcast in 3 acts, if you will. We start with Act 1, the Chakra Check-In, in which we hone in on a topic that's currently affecting our alignments. Today, we are talking about intimacy and relationships in Desi culture.
What? Yeah. You're not supposed to talk about that in Desi culture? That's messed up. Okay.
This is going to change culture as we know it.
It's just going to be a silent 10 minutes.
You want to talk about your feelings? Okay, and I'll turn my back. Act 2, we pit our American-born side against our Desi side in our death match debate. This week, we're going straight for the heart of this particular matter: traditional American weddings versus Desi weddings. Only one will survive. Oh boy. Ooh. And then finally, Act 3, we nominate our Desi of the week, and then blammo, podcast is over, and you can live the rest of your life feeling a little bit more matrimonious.
And we got some sponsors. We'll talk about them right quick. DesiQuest. That's an actual play tabletop role-playing game set in a South Asian mythological inspired universe. It has a stellar cast. Our GM is Jasmine, that bronze girl bowler. The cast includes Critical Role darling Anjali Bhimani, Dimension 20 darling Rekha Shankar, and me darling and Omar darling. We're the darling family. So for more info on that and to get on our mailing list, hit up DesiQuest.com, DesiQuest.com, or click the link in our show notes. And our next sponsor is you guys. Oh, man. Well, listen, it's true. You truly are our sponsors. We have Patreons that help us keep the lights on. I sing your names in the credits for those that are in the shout out level. So please head over to patreon.com/EffinFunny if you want to have your name sung by my tone deaf ass. That's it. That's the sponsors part.
All right, well, now that we've covered that, shall we head over to our first section? It's time for the Chakra Check-In.
Oh, yeah.
There it is. So, intimacy in Desi culture. A slightly paradoxical statement at times.
At times. It's getting better, right?
At times. Relationships, intimacy, honesty. What do you, before we get into the specific chakra, let me ask you, what are your, coming from a Desi background, how does that affect your sense of intimacy in relationships?
I think it took me a long time to, because like I think it's not something very much talked about in like outwardly, right? We don't really talk about, like, I don't know if you had the sex talk with your parents, but like I did not. I had two older brothers, luckily, and they gave me. I remember literally my older brother. He's 12 years older than me, and he just like pulled out his biology textbook and was like, "All right, kiddo, you're in second grade. It's time for you to learn about the birds and the bees." And that was my like version of the sex talk was with my older brother, which I think in some ways is probably the best. Like my parents just never. It just never. We never really addressed it directly. So, it's just not something that you really discuss, like how I could never have the conversation about like dating, like what's, I couldn't like bring up like, my feelings on the difficulties of dating or how one should date or what, like what kind of, like, it's also like such different worlds, right? Like come from a world of like arranged marriages and, it's just like a different universe than like the dating scene in Goffstown, New Hampshire. So there isn't really a conversation that was had at all. Like,
Yeah.
So like then going into my actual dating life and stuff like that, it was just, you gotta figure this shit out as you go. I mean, you just gotta, roll with the punches and, roll with the donkey punches. And I'm just kidding. Terrible joke. I didn't know the first thing and mostly just adapted to what I think what I think I was getting in the comment section, in real time. I don't know. How was it for you, man?
It's interesting. I remember my dad attempting to have a talk at one point. And his fear scared the living hell out of me. And it was the fear of the conversation that he was experiencing. But for me, I thought that's what he was saying, where he's like, look, when two people love each other, oh God. And I was like, well, in that case, I don't want to fall in love. I was like, whatever you're about to say sounds terrible.
How old were you when this happened?
I was young. This was like, I was in elementary school. Like,
and are you the oldest sibling? Remind me.
I am the oldest. I am the oldest.
Okay, so yeah, this was his first time, also potentially delivering this talk.
Yeah, delivering this bad news as he experienced it.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't really a conversation we had in the family because that kind of set the precedent for that. But I think as I grew up, the thing that because most of my Desi culture comes from my parents. Like that's how I experienced it. Like I'll visit my family in Chicago and my family in India, but growing up it was mostly my parents. And the thing that was the most blocked, I think, was for me the throat chakra, communication. I feel like.
Oh yeah, let's both just go ahead and jump in on the throat chakra. On that. Let's just go. Sorry, I like to think of stupid sexual jokes. All right, let's both dive into the deep throat chakra on this one.
We are now kicked out of every new age store.
We started the whole podcast with the taint chakra, so whatever, man.
Yeah, I think that was the thing that I realized I needed to work on the most as an adult is just trusting that honesty, trusting that communication, sharing just sharing, if that makes sense.
Like with your partner, you mean? Like communicating about what intimacy means for the two of you kind of thing?
Yeah. Or, I mean, honestly, even pulling back, let's use lowercase r relationships, just with people in general, instead of being like, I'm upset, so I got to figure out a way around this thing of just being like, ooh, I'm in a bad mood today. And just communicating that. I feel like I didn't pick up from any Desi culture that I absorbed. I didn't pick that up. And I think a lot of it was also, a ton of it was Bollywood movies, which now don't exist. So these movies that never existed, that a lot of it was you're not honest because it creates drama. Like if there's a misunderstanding, it'll get solved later after someone goes and starts a job in New York and the other person has to fly there and make a big scene. Yeah. I inappropriately absorbed a lot of that. So I thought that's what adult life was like, where if I wanted to have a relationship, there had to be a lot of torment.
Yeah,
a lot
at
of
some
like
point
chasing.
you had to like break into an airport
Exactly.
and get on the tarmac and chase down the airplane.
Chase on the airplane, or their
Fire
dad
wire
was like the
style.
mob boss, and I had to call the cell phone to prove that their dad was a mob boss or something like that, and my twin brother was dead, stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
Who are you dating? Oh man. Yeah, that's it just always is so interesting to me how like kind of there is this and it's like the common sort of stereotype of the Desi kind of experience to be like, oh, there's like this sexual repression or this like inability to really have like an honest conversation about that stuff. But then also we're the culture of like the Kama Sutra, like
Yeah.
and you're like I mean I never had a talk with my parents about like pornography or in any way, shape, or form, and as a parent now, I can't imagine not having a conversation about pornography with my son, considering how
Right.
insanely prevalent and your ability to access is so easy now compared to when I was a kid, when it was like you had to find whatever dirty
truck stop.
magazines exactly and like so I just like it's just funny to me that like when we never talk about pornography and yet there's like ancient statues in India of like the Kama Sutra and it was like that's so interesting that it's at once this sort of like home for tantric sex and Kama Sutra and like all this stuff about like this like almost like sexual philosophy, it sounds like. And then it's totally a absolutely taboo topic in the household.
Oh no, we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that all ties in with the throat chakra, because it's like let's have those conversations. Let's open that up a little bit. Let's have a little bit of communication. Let's go ahead and turn that around. I feel like there's a lot of stuff of like,
but like for the next generation, right? Like I don't have to have the sex talk with my parents now, do I? Because like I don't I don't think I want to have that talk with them. I did think that would be a really funny like TikTok challenge. Like, you know what I mean? Like
the birds and the bees talking like your 30s and 40s.
Yes, Desi TikTok challenge. Have the sex talk with your parents now.
It would be like for
funny.
Glories, it was like when everyone was doing that thing and just like, oh my gosh, the Donald Trump dead at 89 or whatever. Like, and then it would like getting people's reactions. Ours would be like, hey Dad, do you want to talk about healthy relationships? And him be like, no, shut it down.
Yeah,
shut it down.
Dad, how do babies get made? Oh man. Yeah, well, I mean, I would love. Were your parents arranged? Love marriage?
No, my parents arranged their own marriage in Las Vegas, Nevada. That's the kind of people they are. No. My parents just like were out here and we're just like, let's do it. There's an Elvis impersonator.
Your parents were born here in the U.S.
No,
or they
my
were
mom
born
is
in?
from Delhi.
No,
My
they were
dad's
born
from
in...
Pakistan. All of it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So then they immigrated to this country, found each other,
They met in
and then
England.
Arranged their own marriage.
Yeah.
Oh, they met in England.
And then
That's right,
while they were
England,
out visiting
yes.
here, they're like, oh, we should get married here. And then they're like, we'll go back to England and do another ceremony. But yeah.
And your dad's Muslim. Mom was raised Hindu, right? So was that like super scandalous amongst the families? Or is everyone chill?
Their families never really met is the thing. So like, this is also like, I don't come from like, we don't have, we don't all get together at a summer camp with all matching shirts. Do you know what I mean? I'm just like, oh, here comes the 70 Chowdhuries. So it's an interesting thing. Yeah, it was.
So were they
mostly
like were they like black sheepish both in their families kind of thing? And
kind
then
of, yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. I guess what was your perspective on the whole arranged marriage? Did they give much of that? Like did they try to ever set you up? Or I mean, like what was their?
I'm trying to think if I'll get in trouble for saying this. One time, I'll share it just because it's ABCD, but don't tell my mom I said this.
Yeah, nobody.
One time I asked my mom, I was like,
nobody tell anybody this.
As a teenager, I asked my mom point blank. I was like, "Do you want me to marry an Indian woman?" And I remember my mom was just doing laundry, and without turning to me to even address the weight of what she said, she just went, "I'd prefer if you didn't." And just kept going.
Wow.
Just kept going.
Whoa,
And never
that's a lot.
elaborated. Just kept going.
That's a lot to unpack in therapy. Holy cow. That's so. Did you get any sense of why?
Never. And then when I asked her about it, she insists that conversation never happened.
Oh, okay.
And then she'll say what I was doing at that time. I was like, well, remember when I asked you this? She was like, I think you were at Raging Waters. And I was like, you don't even know what I'm referring to.
Yeah.
Like, it's instantly defensive.
So wait, she remembers where you asked it, but then not
She remembers
that
it didn't happen because I was somewhere else at the time where nothing happened.
She's created an alibi for the conversation.
Yeah.
Oh, that's insane. That's amazing. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just remember from, I don't know. Did you, well, like, so I guess are you close to aunts and uncles? Do they have lots of arranged marriages in your world?
I believe in my family we do a handful of arranged marriages, and they're still happily together. Everyone seems very healthy and happy relationships, and it seems to be the key of that is a lot of communication and kind of like setting like understandings from the get-go of just being like, this is what I want, this is what you want, this is what we're interested in, these are our combined goals, these are our individual goals, stuff like that.
There is like, it's like, I used to be really kind of, or I feel like a lot of people felt this way, but it was like that there was almost like, oh, an arranged marriage is like, maybe bad thing's the wrong word, but like it felt like it was like, ooh, that's like, ugh, like why would you do that kind of a thing? Or like, oh, that seems like so old school, traditional, not modern. And like love marriage is like, no, this is like freedom of choice, and arranged marriage is not. But I look at it very differently now. Now that I've seen a lot of arranged marriages really work, well, what I realize is more what's happening. And now that like Indian matchmakers like out in the world and people kind of see like what it's about more, it's like less like, oh, these two people who totally don't know each other at all are forced to marry, or like, oh, it was chosen when they were 6 and they have no choice. Like it's not really that as much. I mean, maybe there is. I'm sure there is still some of that in places, and that's problematic. But like the more common arranged marriage, right, is like people who have like, you know, their parents get involved. They're very much a part of the discussion of who they should, who, you know, it's like you almost want their approval, but like the actual bride and groom, or hopefully someday groom and groom, bride and bride, you know, well, if hopefully in the sense that I hope, you know, Indian matchmaking progresses to that would be amazing. But like that they actually are part of the conversation, like they have to approve of it as well. It's not like the parents get to override all their decisions. It's like, it's more of a way for people to like have more boxes checked and ticked before they begin like kind of an accelerated dating process to get to marriage.
Yeah, exactly.
So in some ways I'm like, I wonder how that would have worked out. Especially when like stuff with my wife and I are like a little, you know, a little rough going, and I'm like, that arranged marriage. I gotta call that Indian matchmaker lady.
Well, let me ask you this really quick before we close out this segment. Did your parents, when you were getting married, did your parents give you any advice that you felt like unlocked something within you that got one of your chakra wheels spinning?
I think it was just like, you know, the commitment was, like, let's see, what piece of advice did they say? They just kind of said like that it's not always going to be easy, and you it is like honoring the commitment does really matter, because there are going to be moments where you feel like you need to hit like an escape hatch button or something like that, and like working through that, talking through that, finding, you know, common ground, finding ways to communicate, finding ways to, you know, humble yourself, I think is going to in the end, in the long run, is going to make for a successful relationship. So I think that's, I don't know if they said it in those words, really. They probably didn't. But I feel like that was always the sort of like what I got from their modeling of their relationship.
Yeah, work through it together.
Yeah. And I mean, they bicker a shit ton, without a doubt. But like there was never this sense, never in my house did I ever feel like, oh man, this might all fall apart. And it always felt like it was a stable situation.
Yeah.
Even if they were screaming at each other or like blah, 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 like going back and forth. Like I never really felt like it was ever going to fall apart. So I feel like that foundation always felt secure. And then so once, like with that foundation, like, that's where a family can kind of thrive off of that.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. Hilarious, right? Okay. Do you I would love to talk about like if we feel like we have time, I would love to talk about, because you are ace, you're asexual.
Yep.
And I'm curious about like is that a conversation amongst you and your parents? Did you come out as ace to them? Is that like how did that all work within your
we totally have
familial
time for
structure?
this. Because it's a quick little thing. It was like something where when I started to realize it about myself, I had probably a really difficult week, because this was years ago. But like also I was like, ooh, men in the United States of America, in American culture, are defined in such a specific way. The way that like marketing is aimed at us, the way that like it's like men do this and think this. It made me feel very otherized, because I was like, oh, the Axe commercials don't work on me, because like this isn't a thing I desire or want. Like I don't want this attention. I biologically can't understand this in certain ways. Aside from just like my ego of people being like, you're attractive. I'm like, thanks. That's it. That's all I wanted. I can't give you anything back. I'm going to take that praise and leave you.
Yeah.
Which is very unhealthy and not something I seek out. But it was a very difficult week. There was one week where I was like, oh, I got to talk to a therapist. And then it was a slightly difficult month. And after that, I just kind of felt like myself for the first time. And it was huge. It was great. And ever since, I've had nothing but lovely and beautiful experiences.
And if I ask, how
Yeah.
old were you in this realization?
I want to say 29.
Okay.
Like pretty late in life.
Wow,
Pretty late in
yeah.
life. Like I'm done. Like this.
Well, I feel like I don't know. Maybe and again, I'm not. It's like I feel like this is a recent sort of thing, like a labeling that feels pretty recent for people to really own this. I mean, or unless there is a longer history that was more, on the down low that I didn't know about. But like
the big ripple moment for me was an episode of BoJack Horseman. That's how recent it is.
Yeah.
Like, a character in BoJack Horseman was like, I think I'm ace, and I was like, huh, that's interesting. Oh.
I think I'm a character in BoJack Horseman. This is interesting. Yeah. Wild.
So then anyhow, my youngest sibling came out as non-binary to my mom, and I was home for that. And they were talking to my mom about it, and it was a sort of like big conversation. My mom was confused and was kind of talking, and then I was there, and I didn't intend to be there for that conversation. I mean, I'm happy to be there for my sibling for everything, but I didn't realize it was going to happen. Like we had just finished like having like Hulva or something like that, and so it was like this huge conversation's happening, and I was like, oh. And then I said something, I forget what it was. My mom was like, well, what do you know? You're not even queer. And I went, well, actually, I'm ace. And I went, what? And I was just like, I'm asexual. And Mom was like, no, you're not. And then moved on. And the batting away of the coming out was I cracked up so hard, because I was like, I did not expect that. Like everything I've seen on television, it's all been more of just like, I need to sit you all down. I need to do this. I never expected it to just be a tennis serve right back to my court. And they're like, anyway, 7 love. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Wow. Or just like a hitting of the tennis ball out of the court. Just like, no, we're not talking about that. I mean, did she even understand like what that was? Like, I feel like if I said that to my parents, they wouldn't even understand what the phrasing meant.
No, I don't think it was until later I sat down with her and I explained. And then my mom, and this is This is sharing so much, but then my mom went, so does that mean I'm not going to have any grandkids? And I laughed and I went, I don't think you ever were going to, just so you know. And that probably wasn't a very nice thing considering the first question she asked. But yeah, in this economy, I don't think I can. I'm a writer's assistant. Maybe if I get staffed, I could even consider that, but no.
Oh, there's time for growth in that regard. I mean, career-wise. Not threatening you to have, I'm not saying you should have children. By no means will I ever pressure anyone to have children after having a child myself. I think that is the most sadistic thing when people are like, you should have 3 kids. And you're like, what? But you look like your eyes are bleeding. like, why are you giving me this advice?
I did have a friend while holding children say don't have kids, and I really took that to heart. I really took that to heart.
Yeah. Wild. So how are they with it now? How have they sat with it now? Are you guys in a good place?
They are so much more preoccupied with little like things they pick up on.
Yeah.
They're the grandparents from Hey Arnold is the best way I can describe my parents now.
Okay.
So I will be like, hey, I want to share something very personal with you. And then my mom will be like, okay. We saw this YouTube about this thing called overlanding where you get a Jeep and you just drive in a direction. And I'm like, okay, well, that's as far as that conversation went. That's it. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So just avoidance mostly.
Yeah, exactly. They're back to basics. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man. That's tough. Or I don't know. Maybe it's not tough. Maybe it sounds. At least I find that to be tough in my familial relationships. It's tough. I don't know that there's like an easy like chucker to realign or clear in this one, other than just to say, I bet there are more of us out there that have the same. Difficulties with communicating about our relationships and our intimacy with our families. And I'm curious for those of you out there, like, please jump on our Discord and tell your stories. That's been the cool thing about this whole pod, honestly, is that people are we're starting to see reactions to their own takes on, their relationship with Bollywood and stuff like that. So that's been really cool. So jump into our Discord and please join us in this discussion, because I think the best thing that comes out of all this is hey, I don't know if we have a solution to any of this, but we're all doing it together, and community can be in and of itself a solution, I think.
Yep.
Hilarious episode, you guys. just the comedy just can't be contained. But hey, no, thank you for sharing all that. I really think that's
thank you for asking. Thank you for listening.
I think that's helpful. It's helpful to share this stuff.
If the TikTok trend of asking parents where babies come from as an adult kicks off, I'll feel like we did something good.
Yeah. My parents are in town. Like, the reason why there's a bed in the background, because we've turned my room into guest mode. My parents are in town. I mean, I could just start it. I could just start it. Oh man, it's funny. The feelings even right now of being like, I feel a little hot in my chest. I'm like a little like even the idea of it starts to make me feel kind of uncomfortably warm in my body. And I'm like, why though? Like, my parents, it's not like, even if we did it and it was awkward and terrible, my parents wouldn't care. And would immediately go back to just being my parents. There would be no, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's still, there's this, it feels heavy. It feels like you can't have these conversations. And I'm like, dude, they're turning 80. Like, this is your chance to do any of this kind of stuff.
To get them trending on TikTok.
To get them trending on fucking TikTok. This is what this is what they need. All right. I think now it's time for American Born versus Desi.
All right.
This is the segment where we pick 2 related subjects, one with the American bent, the other with a South Asian bent. We pit them in a debate death match. This week, it's the traditional American wedding versus the traditional Desi wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
there you go.
we're going to see who goes first. Now, the thing is, we're going to roll.
Don't I need to say this part?
Yes.
We're taking a side. Let me say this part real quick. Omar and I are going to take a side. We're going to spit serious truth bombs, and then you guys in the live audience are going to vote. The stakes are legit. The winner reigns supreme and gets to become next week's host, while the loser gets relegated to lowly lame co-host, and their subject is wiped off the face of the earth.
Oh,
now,
gosh.
Let's roll to see who goes first. Odds, I go first. Evens, Omar. Here we go.
5.
That's
me
you.
again.
That's you.
All right.
Time
Omar.
starts now.
Omar, Indian weddings are so superior to American weddings, we should divorce American weddings. Okay? I'm going to start right off the top. Because I know where you're going to go. I know the obvious complaint, the fucking wah of they're so long. Oh, they're so damn long. Oh, but baby, you don't want an excuse for a week-long celebration? I want to go back to working myself to death for corporate America. I love being in captivity. I don't want to have fun with family and friends for a week. Wah fucking wah. And I'll just say this. The ceremony is incredibly long, all right? It is 4 to 6 hours long or whatever. But unlike an American wedding, you don't have to pay attention to the ceremony. That's the beauty. There's food, there's mango lassies, and at least 6 uncles with flasks of whiskey that you can partake in throughout this ceremony. You can talk, play with kids. The only people it actually sucks for is the bride and the groom, and who gives a shit about them? Omar?
Wow. Compelling argument. I don't work for corporate America. I work for myself. I create art. I tell stories. I like to inspire. And I got to be honest, we just don't have the time as a nation. That's right. The reason American weddings are superior to Indian weddings is because they move at a clip. That's right. You drive in, you get there, there's a fun wedding band, there's some horrible speeches, unless of course you're Sandeep, in which case your speech is so good that world famous musicians have to come back and compliment you and invite you to concerts afterwards. A little bit of cutting the cake, you do a little dance, and let me quickly pause on this dance thing. You don't have to memorize dances. Because Sandeep, you're saying, yeah, it's just a week long. It's not. It's not. You and I have been part of Desi weddings before. You know it's not. It's months of preparation. It's months and months of preparation. The least involved person has to dedicate 3 months out of the year to learning moves, to watching the movies that are going to be referenced, to going out of state to a town to go get your clothes fitted because you're going to need 70 outfits. No. American traditional wedding, you put on the one suit, you get in, you say hi, you wish everyone well, you're out. Happy wedding. No pressure. You're in. You're there. Vote American.
That sauce was so weak, it doesn't even belong on the buffet line. Listen, Indian weddings are like room escapes. There are games embedded throughout the ceremony, literally. And you can come out with cold, hard cash. Okay? Strong recommend to go to a Punjabi wedding, not a Gujarati one. But as a Gujarati, I say this. But Indian weddings are like going to a casino. You steal the right shoe, you can pay for your whole trip. All right? Like, people are just throwing cash around. You get to decorate yourself. All right? This is like Mendi night. Yes, it's one of the 12 nights of an Indian wedding, but you get to get henna tattoos. And sure, you're either going to be tattooed by an older auntie who might slip some swastikas into the design, or a 10-year-old who might accidentally make the flowers look phallic, but you can compete with the bride, all right? Get super dolled up. And then the best part, for me, as the groom, the parade, okay? The barat. If you're on the groom side, you get to dance your ass off before the wedding. we get the Prince Ali Fabulous He parade going on. Omar, traditionally, people in this parade, they'll ride in on horses and elephants, but you can actually ride in on whatever you want. I came in on a DeLorean, dude. Check that out. That was my wedding. It had a second line of horns playing the Back to the Future theme song. Why? Because I wanted to do it. You can't do this stuff at an American wedding. Where they're going, they need roads, if you know what I mean. They're boring.
Okay. I'm glad that you referenced an American movie for the wedding that you're
Yeah,
referencing
so?
here. Because last
So?
week you fought so vehemently for Hollywood, Sandeep. And I want to remind you,
That's
if you
right.
get rid of American weddings, let me tell you what you get rid of. You get rid of the wedding singer, the wedding planner, wedding crashers, my big fat Greek wedding, runaway bride, the graduate, the corpse bride, the proposal, the American parts of Crazy Rich Asians, the Meg, Jaws, Citizen Kane, Batman, all the Batman movies, Criterion, the entire collection. You get rid of American weddings, you get rid of American wedding content. Do you really want to do that? Bollywood's already gone. We can sacrifice it.
You and your slippery slope arguments, they're such trash. I'm saying you can keep Hollywood because I already won that shit. We're taking out American weddings though. We don't need them. They're so colorless, dude. Get out of here with your boring ass suit. But all the groomsmen have matching fuchsia ties. Oh my god, I fell asleep while I was talking. That's so pedestrian. You can get decked out at an Indian wedding. You can be a walking assault to the senses. And people love it, all right? People show up to an Indian wedding just to induce acid flashbacks. And that's the other beauty, Omar. Anyone can show up to an Indian wedding. Like, it's easily the easiest type of wedding to crash. Because here's the deal. You have to invite 1,000 people to the wedding, and the bride and groom will actually know like 30 or 40 of them. Therefore, if you out there see an Indian wedding, you can absolutely just roll up on it and start dancing along, and no one will even know. And even if they find out, they won't care. Okay? Everyone's invited, man. Everyone's invited. What's going on at your boring ass, tiny church where it's like 17 people?
Well, 17 people and the polytheistic gods. Thank you. Everyone is invited to an Indian wedding, but not everyone can have an Indian wedding. That's right. You cannot have a same-sex marriage in India. That is. There is a hearing on March 13th, but in 2020, the vote to extend the definition of marriage to same-sex couples was shot down. For this point, and this point only, I would ask all of you voting, vote for American weddings. In India, we cannot have everyone celebrate their love, and that to me is damning. We are not free until all of us are free to get married.
I'm with you on that, except that in America, you could have an Indian gay marriage. A gay wedding. There's no reason you couldn't do it. There's no reason you couldn't do it. And I'm hoping against hope that I get to go to one very soon. And look. So yes, and they are voting that on March 13th. And I hope it goes the way of love is love. I'm just gonna talk about the receptions, okay? Because can we just you brought up the terrible groomsman speech or the best man speech where you find out that he hooked up with the bride once. No one's here for that. At our Indian receptions, okay, it's basically an episode of Indian America's Got Talent. All right, it's a veritable show where it turns out, the nerdy, mostly mute 12-year-old cousin Ketan is a contortionist who can also play tabla. And wow, Pushpa Auntie does Bharatanatyam infused with pop and lock. Like, holy shit, this stuff should be $300 a ticket, but you get to go drink for free and flirt with someone who may be a cousin that you've never met. It just doesn't get any better.
Let me ask you this as a closing question.
And I do have to point out, time is over, so
Okay.
we are at closing arguments.
Okay, closing argument.
arguments.
Closing argument. My closing argument will be a question. Sandeep, what wedding did you have? What type of wedding did you have?
It was a fusion. Fusion.
Yeah.
And listen, if I had to cut one part of that fusion out, it would be the American part. But we had some Indian elements, and we had some. And listen, we cut down. We did some editing. It was a 30-minute ceremony. But we walked around the fire 4 times. some dances. We had the barat. We had the best parts of it. We did the highlight reel versions of it. Oh, you got personal. Is that your closing argument?
That's it. That's it.
That's the question?
Yep.
All right. I'm going to close with weddings are about celebrating love and cementing a commitment to each other. And you never love someone more and feel more committed to them until you endure something incredibly wild. Brothers and sisters from other misters are made in war, in grinding out victory against impossible odds. And if you can survive the madness of an Indian wedding intact, you are clearly meant for each other. If you can endure all the ceremonies, the turmeric slapped in your face, the nose pinches, the nani fracturing your toe by shattering a coconut at your feet, you belong together. And not till death do you part. No, that's an American thing. We believe in reincarnation. So you'll be doing this again and again and again. Vote Indian wedding. How you feeling?
I'm feeling confident.
Yeah?
I'm feeling confident.
I'm
Desi
seeing in
weddings
chat
are
the
more
marriage
fun.
equality. The marriage equality argument almost swayed me, but the Indian weddings are epic. Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. It's like
Yeah.
you can still there's time for us to evolve. When we gotta evolve. Oh, I cannot wait to go to an Indian gay wedding. I feel like that's gonna be the coolest thing ever.
That kind of caps out culture, right? Like I don't think it gets more fun than that. Then that's the Avengers Endgame of weddings, where you're just like, well,
1,000%, 1,000%. How's the voting looking, Delvin? Where
We are short on time. There's a little bit of time to get votes in. Desi is winning, but just by a small amount.
Oh wow!
58%.
It really is just by a
Desi's
small
winning
amount.
right now.
Oh wow! Okay.
come on, you all want those terrible best man speeches. I'm talking the really
Do they?
bad ones. The really bad ones where the guy gets up and goes, I wish I had what you have. I wish I had what you have.
Do they want the way too intimate father-daughter dances?
Yes.
Is that what they want?
Yes.
No.
To Harry
we want
I still get jealous.
we want the awkward, Indian uncle with his, with his daughter, and they're like dancing around and not, doing some bhangra, some terrible bhangra, and he blows out his hip. Like that's what we want.
Well, apparently you get it, Sandeep. Congratulations.
Yeah, Desi has won this. 59%. Desi is what we are retaining.
Wow. That's
41%
close.
is supporting
Wow.
traditional
Close.
American wedding.
All right. Well, we're going to find out from chat in the after show, why they voted the way they voted,
Yeah.
what arguments really compelled them. And maybe for some of you, what was your relationship to Indian and American weddings yourselves? Did you have an
Yeah.
Indian wedding? Did you have an American one? I'd love to hear about that stuff. And if you have a strong argument to make for or against, we'd love to hear it in our Discord. So please jump on in there. All right.
Should we move
I'm
on to our
host
last
yet
segment here?
again.
I can't
It's
believe
now,
it. I can't believe it. Well, the show's not over yet, so don't get too ahead of yourself
Okay.
here, Sandeep,
All
because
right.
it's time for our Desi of the Week. Yeah. This week, our Desis of the Week are you ready for this?
I'm so ready.
Sheel, Mohnot, and Amruta Godbole.
So, okay.
This is, I think, the raddest
yeah.
Desi of the Week nomination we've ever had.
I'm psyched about this one. So these are lifelong Taco Bell fans. I don't know if you guys know this about Desi Americans in general, but Taco Bell was our jam. It was
Yeah.
our place to go. For at least for my family, because we were vegetarian. I was vegetarian growing up, and my parents are still vegetarian. It was the only fast food place you could go to where you could get everything on the menu. because you can replace the meat with the beans.
Yep.
And so it felt like you couldn't do that at McDonald's. You know, you could have like two things at McDonald's, the pie and some fries, you know,
Yeah.
like there was nothing. So like, I think somehow in our, like culturally, and I think it was all the hot sauce that you could steal for free.
Yeah, that appealed
we
to us.
there was like a big, you know, Indian love for Taco Bell. So these are lifelong Taco Bell fans, Sheel and Amruta, and they will say, I do, on February 24th, which I guess already happened, with an out of this realm wedding celebration in Decentraland. So this is happening in the metaverse.
That's right. That's right. And if you're like, well, why are you talking about Taco Bell so much? It's because they're getting Taco Bell married.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're being
Yeah.
sponsored, right? It's sponsored
Yep.
by Taco Bell.
There were over 300 couples who applied to win the Taco Bell metaverse wedding of their dreams. And Sheel, a co-founder of Better Tomorrow Ventures, and Amruta, a lawyer at Instagram, embody what it means to live and love Moss.
I love that. That's such like a corporate-y tech. They really embody what it means to love Moss. So gross. I could just hear the like freaking executive pitching that. The music,
Now, there is
terrible.
one huge element of this that we have not mentioned. It's who's officiating the wedding. That's
Yeah,
right.
this is
None other
the
than
best.
legendary Desi himself, Kal Penn, the actor, the author, the academic lecturer, and former White House staff member from the Barack Obama administration.
Oh man.
Kal Penn himself, who just had the book come out a couple months ago, will be officiating this wedding, or has officiated this wedding. I don't think there's a more blessed occasion than this. Vegetarian Taco Bell, Metaverse, Kal Penn.
Kal Penn. I mean, really. I mean, who wouldn't want Harold with the munchies? Like, I feel like that's the betrayal. Is that I wonder how White Castle feels about this.
They should have held on to their boy. They should have held on to their
Yeah,
boy.
step up, White Castle.
At
But
the
you
end of the
can't
day, it's just, yeah.
you can't
And
have,
it's not,
you
and it's not about him. It's not about
Yeah,
him.
no, it's not. It's not. That's why he's
yeah.
not the Desi of the week.
Exactly.
Kal Penn is not the Desi of the week.
The happy couple is.
Yes,
You know,
it's
we
Sheel and Amruta.
We started this show talking about these sort of issues we have with intimacy in relationships because of the previous generations.
Yeah.
I think this is a great way to cap off the episode because this is truly a Desi romance of the future. It's in the metaverse.
really-
Kal Penn is
it really
officiating
is.
it, and it's Taco Bell.
Oh man, I can only imagine the 9 days that they're gonna have to spend in the metaverse together, celebrating this. Is gonna be something. All right, well that's our show, everyone. As always, if you want to actually see our faces, there's a VOD on our YouTube, and there's all sorts of other ways that you can actually hang out with us. Those are all in the show notes. Please, oh, this is the big thing that I need to plug. We need rates and comments and reviews, apparently.
Yes.
That's the thing that gets you up the Apple Podcast charts. So if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, then please drop us that review and a 5-star. Please give us 5-star. 5-star, please. We love it. And if you have comment suggestions, we love to hear them. Join our Discord or email us at abcdpodcastshow@gmail.com. This is going to be our last episode for a couple weeks because we're going to go dark while we shoot DesiQuest together. Which is, again, one of our sponsors. Go to DesiQuest. I'll wait for the audience's ravenous applause here.
Jerry has actually broken
Jerry?
back into the building to celebrate
Jerry?
DesiQuest. Jerry.
I thought he was thrown into the pit of despair. What happened? I heard him
He
go
crawled
down
out.
there.
He heard about DesiQuest.
Okay, all right. Well, go to DesiQuest.com, find
right,
out all
Jerry.
about it. Jerry, you're yeah, you can stay,
All
Jerry.
right.
We love you, Jerry.
All right, we know Jerry. We know Jerry. We know Jerry.
And yes, we will miss you guys, Death Queens in chat. We will miss you for the next couple weeks as we shoot this, but we're very excited. And as always, Omar has to riff while I go get my guitar.
Folks, we've got one last sponsor to thank, and that is you, the folks over at Patreon. And there's only one way to properly thank you, and that's with a beautiful serenade. Please take it away, Sandeep.
Beautiful is definitely the word I describe this serenade. Me, 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 me. The last people I'd like to thank are the Patreons who put money into our bank, which include Joshua Ryan, Tall BM, Carlo, Wuzak, Benjamin Lowe, Brandon Pace, Hunter P. Brown, Legion 247, damn it, I have to scroll again, Miranda Hollinger, Vaden, and Michael Longa.
This show is produced by Daigle Now. The show's technical director and sound designer is Delvin Neville. The show's executive producers are Sandeep Parikh and Anand Shah. This has been an EffinFunny production.
Yes, it has. Oh, on behalf of our co-host, Omar Najam, I've been host and will be for another week when we come back. Sandeep Parikh, may your chakras be aligned and smothered in chutney. Thanks for listening.